Hey there. Welcome to this deep dive into online food communities. Today, we're going to be looking at what makes a recipe website really stand out,
Mm.
in such a crowded digital space. And we've got some really interesting insights for you. Our source, an interview with Laura Gardner, founder of RecipeSocialist.com from the A Taste of Everything podcast.
Oh, yeah, I think I've heard of that one. So, what makes this website stand out from the crowd? There are just so many recipe websites out there.
Well, first off, Laura is really passionate about food. She truly believes that food brings people together, which is the whole idea behind RecipeSocialist.com. It's not just about, finding recipes. It's about building a community, sharing the joy of cooking, and connecting with other food lovers.
That's a smart approach, actually, when you think about it. In today's world, it's so easy to feel isolated, even online. But food has this unique ability to bring people together, both in person and virtually.
Exactly. And RecipeSpecialist.com is really tapping into that. But let's get specific. What makes it different from all the other recipe sites? Well, they emphasize seasonal cooking, which is a huge trend right now.
That makes sense. You've got the sustainability angle,
Hmm?
where people are more aware of their food's environmental impact these days. And then there's the flavor factor. I mean, seasonal produce just tastes better, right? And of course, it taps into that desire for a more authentic, connected experience, like knowing where your food comes from and how it changes with the seasons.
Yeah, it seems to really hit on a lot of different levels. But on a more practical level, they also have this awesome tips section. It doesn't matter what your skill level is in the kitchen, you'll find something useful there.
Tips are crucial, especially for beginner cooks. Knowing those little tricks can really make a big difference between a good dish and a great one. And for more experienced cooks, well, there's always something new to learn.
I totally agree. Laura also shared her top tip in the interview, which is to taste as you go. Now, you might be thinking, well, duh, everyone does that.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets interesting. Tasting as you go isn't just about checking if something needs more salt. It's about really understanding how flavors develop at different stages of cooking. It allows you to adjust the seasoning, balance acidity, and even prevent overcooking. So think of it as like actively participating in the cooking process, not just blindly following a recipe. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's more than just a quick taste. It's almost like a culinary mindfulness thing.
Exactly. It's about being fully present while you cook,
Yeah.
engaging all your senses, and making conscious decisions about your dish. It brings a whole new level of control and creativity to your cooking.
Definitely. Really changes the game.
Now,
Hmm.
you can't talk about a food website without asking about favorite recipes, right?
Of course not. Everyone's got their favorite.
So, Laura said it's like picking a favorite child, but she confessed to a soft spot for her homemade lasagna.
Ah, lasagna. A true classic. And it perfectly embodies that idea of food bringing people together. It's a dish made for sharing, creating memories around the table. Who doesn't love a big, comforting pan of lasagna?
It's perfect for a crowd. But there's something else interesting here. Laura describes it as a labor of love, full of rich flavors and layers of goodness. And this speaks to another key aspect of online food communities, the sharing of personal stories and experiences. It's not just about the food itself, but the emotions and memories associated with it.
Absolutely. Sharing those personal touches really helps create a sense of connection and community. It turns a simple recipe into something much more meaningful. It reminds us that food is about so much more than just sustenance. It's about culture and tradition, family and connection.
Now, let's look ahead to what's cooking for the future of RecipeSpecialist.com. Laura's got some exciting plans to make the site even more interactive and engaging. She's adding in-depth articles about cooking techniques and ingredients.
Oh, wow. So you're scrolling through, you find a recipe you want to try, and bam! There's a link to an article explaining the science behind, perfectly whipped egg whites, or the history of that exotic spice you've never even heard of. It's like having a culinary encyclopedia right at your fingertips.
Yeah, it totally changes the game. It's not just about finding a recipe, but understanding the why behind it all. And get this, Laura is also going to incorporate videos.
That's smart. So many people learn best visually, and videos can make even the most complex techniques seem approachable. Plus, let's be honest, sometimes you just need to see someone do it before you feel confident enough to try it yourself.
I totally agree. It's like having Laura right there in your kitchen, guiding you through each step. It adds a level of personality and connection that you just don't get from text and photos.
Right, and this actually raises an interesting point. We've been talking about how online food communities bring people together, but they can also address some common cooking anxieties. Think about it. Videos, tips, a supportive community. They all help to build confidence in the kitchen.
Which is huge, right? Because the more confident you are, the more likely you are to experiment and try new things. And that's when the real magic happens in the kitchen.
Absolutely. And that brings us to Laura's parting message, which I found incredibly inspiring. Don't be afraid to experiment in the kitchen.
She's basically saying, get in there, have fun. Don't worry if things don't turn out perfectly the first time.
Exactly. It's all part of the learning process. Who knows? Maybe one of your mistakes will turn into your next culinary masterpiece.
So we've covered a lot about Laura's approach to food and what makes RecipeSpecialist.com unique. But what does this tell us about online food communities as a whole?
Well, first off, they are more than just recipe repositories. They are evolving into these spaces for learning and sharing and connecting with fellow food enthusiasts.
Huh.
Yeah, they're becoming these vibrant hubs, where you can find inspiration, support, and a sense of belonging.
You know, one thing that really struck me about RecipeSpecialist.com was Laura's emphasis on seasonal cooking. It's more than just a trend, it seems like. It's like a whole philosophy.
It is. But why do you think it resonates so much with people?
Well, in a world of instant gratification and mass-produced everything, seasonal cooking is a way to kind of reconnect with nature, with the rhythms of the earth. It's about slowing down, savoring the flavors that are unique to each time of year.
And it's a reminder that food isn't just something you buy at the supermarket. It's something that grows, changes, and
Yeah.
evolves with the seasons.
Exactly.
And I think that's why it ties so beautifully into Laura's belief about food's power to connect people. Sharing a meal made with seasonal ingredients is a way to share that connection with nature, with your community, with each other. It's a really special experience.
And let's be honest, there's nothing quite like the taste of a perfectly ripe tomato in the summer or a crisp apple in the fall. You just can't replicate those flavors any other time of year.
Absolutely. Seasonal cooking is all about embracing the abundance of each season and letting those ingredients shine. But it also encourages us to try new things, to step outside our comfort zones a little.
Yeah, you might discover a new favorite vegetable that you never knew you liked,
Mm.
or find a new way to prepare a familiar ingredient.
Exactly. And that sense of discovery, it's something that's often missing from our modern food culture. We get so caught up in convenience and efficiency that we forget to just kind of explore and experiment in the kitchen.
That's where Laura's "Don't be afraid to experiment" message really hits home. She's encouraging us to play, have fun, and to not be afraid to make a few mistakes along the way.
Exactly. It's all part of the process.
And speaking of experimentation, let's go back to her tip about tasting as you go. It might seem like a small thing, but it can really be a game changer.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm curious, how so? I mean, I taste my food while I'm cooking, but I'm not always sure if I'm doing it right.
It's not about doing it right or wrong. It's more about engaging all of your senses and really paying attention to how the flavors are developing. You're not just checking for saltiness. You're looking for balance, acidity, sweetness, all those subtle nuances that make a dish delicious.
Well, it's almost like a form of active listening, but with your taste buds.
Haha, exactly. It's about being fully present in the cooking process and making adjustments as you go. The more you do it, the more you develop your palate and your intuition in the kitchen.
I can see how that would make you a more confident cook over time. Speaking of confidence, let's talk about Laura's plans for the future of RecipeSpecialist.com. She mentioned wanting to create more in-depth articles about cooking techniques and ingredients.
It's brilliant, really. Imagine having access to like a whole library of culinary knowledge right there on the website. You could learn everything from how to properly knead bread dough to the history of, different spices.
Yeah, it would be like having a personal cooking instructor at your fingertips. And the best part is, you can learn at your own pace, whenever you have time.
And it goes beyond just learning techniques. Think about the confidence it could build. So many people avoid certain recipes because they seem too complicated or intimidating. But having access to these in-depth articles could empower them to try new things and really expand their culinary horizons.
It's funny, we've been talking about confidence and experimentation. And it makes me think about something Laura said in the interview. She talked about how even her failures in the kitchen have taught her valuable lessons.
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes our biggest breakthroughs come from our mistakes. It's a good reminder that cooking is an ongoing learning process, a journey of discovery. There's always something new to learn, a new technique to master, a new flavor combination to explore.
And that's what keeps it exciting. And speaking of exciting, let's not forget about Laura's plans to incorporate videos into the website.
Oh yeah, videos are a fantastic way to make learning more engaging and accessible. They can really bring those complex techniques to life, making them easier to understand and follow.
And sometimes you just need to see something done to really get it. Videos can provide that visual guidance that can make all the difference.
Absolutely. And they also add a more personal touch to the website. It's almost like having Laura right there in your kitchen, guiding you through each step.
It creates a sense of connection and community
Mm.
that you don't always get from just static text and photos.
Right. And I think that's what's so special about online food communities in general. They're not just about finding recipes. They're about connecting with people who share your passion for food.
They're places where you can ask questions, share tips, and celebrate your successes. And maybe even commiserate over your kitchen disasters.
Exactly. They provide a sense of belonging and support that can be so valuable, especially for people who are new to cooking or who are, trying to expand their culinary skills.
And they could also introduce you to new cuisines, ingredients, cooking styles
Yeah.
that you might never have discovered on your own.
It's like opening a window to a whole new world of culinary possibilities. And in a world that can sometimes feel very divided, food has this incredible power to bring people together.
It transcends cultural barriers, language differences, even political divides.
It's a universal language that everyone can understand and appreciate. And online food communities provide a platform for that shared language to flourish.
So we've seen how RecipeSpecialist.com is using its platform to connect with people, inspire creativity, and build a really vibrant online community. But what about the bigger picture? What can we learn from Laura's story and the success of her website?
Well, I think it highlights the importance of authenticity and passion. People can tell when someone is genuinely excited about what they're doing, and that passion is contagious. It draws people in and makes them want to be part of something special. It's not just about being passionate about food, though. It's about being passionate about sharing that passion with others, about building a community, where everyone feels welcome and supported.
Yeah, like she's inviting you into her kitchen, not just to cook, but to share in the joy of cooking, the creativity, the sense of accomplishment that comes with creating something delicious.
And that's a really powerful message, especially in today's world, where so much of our lives are driven by technology and instant gratification. Cooking is something that requires patience, attention, a willingness to experiment. It's a reminder that some of the best things in life take time and effort.
And that the journey is just as important as the destination. It's funny, we've been talking about online food communities, but I think the lessons we've learned from Laura and RecipeSpecialist.com can be applied to like any community, online or offline.
That's a great point. It's all about finding those shared interests, those things that bring people together, create a sense of belonging, whether it's food, music, art, or something else entirely. The principles are the same: passion, authenticity, and a genuine desire to connect with others.
And don't forget the power of storytelling, sharing your personal experiences, your triumphs, even your failures can create a deeper connection with other people. It makes you relatable, and it shows that you're human, just like everyone else.
And it encourages others to share their own stories, creating a cycle of connection and support. That's what builds strong communities, whether they're online or in the real world.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I can't help but think about Laura's homemade lasagna and how it kind of symbolizes so much of what we've been talking about.
It really does. It's the perfect example of how food can bring people together. A dish made for sharing, creating memories around the table. It's a reminder that the simplest things in life are often the most meaningful.
So as you venture back into your own kitchen, maybe think about how you can use food to connect with the people around you, share your passions, and build your own little culinary community.
And remember, don't be afraid to experiment. Try new things. Share your culinary journey with the world. You never know who you might inspire.
So tell me, what's your go-to source for culinary inspiration? Is it a beloved cookbook, a favorite food blog, or maybe even a family member who's passed down their secret recipes? And what one tip would you share to help someone feel more confident in the kitchen?
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Head over to our website and share your culinary wisdom with us. And in the meantime, why not pay a visit to RecipeSpecialist.com? You might just find your next culinary adventure waiting for you.
Until next time, happy cooking.